"This is a private affair," Victoria Rothschild said, her Hermès scarf perfectly draped despite the June heat. "Members and family only." The irony of her words wasn't lost on me. Members and family. That's exactly how she lured in her victims at the Oakwood Country Club. Exclusive investment opportunities for an exclusive circle. Only the best for Victoria's carefully curated social network. "I'm your son's wife," I reminded her, keeping my voice level. "Of 5 years." "Yes," she sighed, as if my marriage to Andrew were a temporary inconvenience she had to endure. The accountant. Behind her, guests in designer suits and summer dresses filtered into the country club's grand ballroom, where my sister-in-law Charlotte was about to marry the son of a state senator. The perfect merger of money and influence, as Victoria had been bragging for months. The perfect cover for what was about to happen. "Mother," Andrew appeared beside me, looking uncomfortable in his role as groomsman. "This is ridiculous. Sarah's my wife." "And this is your sister's wedding." Victoria adjusted her pearl necklace, the one I knew she'd bought with Mrs. Henderson's retirement fund. "We can't have any disruptions." Disruptions, like questions about where the money went, like spreadsheets showing how her guaranteed returns were paid with new investors' capital, like the SEC agents posing as catering staff waiting for my signal. "Mrs. Rothschild," I kept my tone professional. "As the club's accounting consultant, I really should discuss some discrepancies." "Not today," she cut me off sharply. "This is Charlotte's day. Whatever mundane financial matters you've discovered can wait." Mundane. That's how she dismissed my concerns when I first noticed the irregular patterns in the club's investment accounts. Just mundane details, beneath the notice of someone like Victoria Rothschild, whose family had founded this club generations ago. "The discrepancies involve the Heritage Investment Fund," I pressed. "The one you've been promoting to club members." Victoria's perfectly composed face flickered for just a moment. "Andrew, control your wife. She's becoming tedious with these accusations." "They're not accusations, Mother. They're numbers." I pulled out my phone, showing the screen. "Like the numbers in this transfer from the Hendersons' account, straight to your private bank in the Caymans." "How dare you?" she started, but I wasn't finished. "Or these numbers." I swiped to another screen, showing how you used Mr. Parker's investment to pay Mrs. Davidson's returns. Classic Ponzi structure. Very clean, until it wasn't. Andrew stared at the screen, his face paling. "Mother, what is she talking about?" "Nothing that concerns you, darling." Victoria's voice held the same dismissive tone she used for years to wave away questions about her private investment opportunities. "Your wife simply doesn't understand how our circle handles financial matters." "Oh, I understand perfectly." I smiled slightly. "I understand how you used your social position to target wealthy retirees. How you promised exclusive returns to an exclusive group. How you played on their trust and their greed." Through the ballroom doors, I could see Charlotte in her custom Vera wine, beaming as she prepared to marry into political royalty. She had no idea her perfect day was about to become something very different. "Andrew," Victoria's voice hardened, "take your wife home." "The SEC is already here," I said quietly. "They're very interested in how you've been running your little investment club, especially the part where you use your position as club treasurer to access members' financial information." Victoria's perfect mask cracked slightly. "You wouldn't dare." "Dare to stop you from stealing more retirement funds, from destroying more lives?" I met her gaze steadily. "Watch me." "Mother," Andrew's voice was strained. "Is this true?" "Of course not," she laughed, but it sounded brittle. "Your wife has always been jealous of our position. She's trying to ruin Charlotte's wedding with these ridiculous allegations." Allegations backed by bank records. I swiped to another screen. "Would you like to explain why Mrs. Henderson's entire retirement fund is now in your personal account? Or why Mr. Parker's investment was used to pay fake returns to 3 other members?" Through the doors, the wedding planner was beginning to line up the bridal party. In 15 minutes, the ceremony would begin, unless something stopped it. "Consider very carefully." Victoria's voice dropped to a threatening whisper. "What accusations like this will do to your marriage, to your place in this family." "I have considered it," I replied calmly. "I've also considered what will happen when the SEC freezes all your accounts, including the one holding Charlotte's wedding funds." Victoria's perfect composure finally cracked. "You wouldn't." "Actually," I checked my watch. They probably already have. The first sign that something was wrong came when Victoria's phone buzzed. Her perfectly manicured fingers trembled slightly as she read the message. Account access denied, I said before she could speak. That's what it says, isn't it? The SEC moves quickly when they have evidence of a $40 million Ponzi scheme. Andrew was still staring at the financial records on my phone. These are all club members. People we've known our whole lives. People who trusted your mother, I corrected gently. People who believed that Victoria Rothschild would never steer them wrong. After all, she's practically club royalty. Through the ballroom doors, I could see the wedding planner frantically checking her phone, no doubt discovering that the final payment for today's lavish celebration had just been frozen. This is absurd. Victoria's voice shook slightly. I'll simply call Charles at the bank. Charles can't help you, I interrupted. He's already given his statement to the SEC about how you pressured him to approve transfers without proper documentation, about how you used your position as club treasurer to access members' financial information. The color drained from Victoria's face. Charles wouldn't. He did. Yesterday. I showed her another screen. Right after I showed him proof that you'd been forging his signature on transfer authorizations. The wedding planner was now hurrying toward us, her clipboard clutched tightly. Behind her, I could see two caterers quietly moving into position near the exits. Mrs. Rothschild, the planner's voice was strained. There seems to be an issue with the final payment. The account is showing as frozen. A temporary banking error, Victoria said smoothly, but her hands were shaking as she reached for her phone again. I'll simply transfer the funds from another account. All your accounts are frozen, I said quietly. Personal, business, and offshore. The SEC is very thorough. The planner's eyes widened. Should I tell the vendors to stop setting up? This is ridiculous, Victoria snapped. I am Victoria Rothschild. My family founded this club. Call the bank manager immediately. The bank manager is currently meeting with federal investigators, I interrupted, along with the club president and 3 board members. They're very interested in how you used your positions of trust to target wealthy retirees. Andrew's face had gone from pale to ashen. The Hendersons. They lost everything. Everyone lost everything, I confirmed softly, except your mother. She has quite a nice nest egg in the Caymans. Or had, until about 10 minutes ago. The wedding planner was still hovering anxiously. Mrs. Rothschild, the florist is demanding payment confirmation before completing the setup. Then confirm it. Victoria's perfect composure cracked completely. Use the Heritage Fund account. The one you emptied last week? I asked. Or the one you used to pay fake returns to early investors? Through the doors, I could see Charlotte approaching, her wedding gown a cloud of designer perfection. She had no idea her perfect day was about to implode. Mother, Charlotte called out. Why aren't the flowers finished, and why is the caterer packing up? Victoria's face went from white to gray. Darling, there's just a small banking issue. There's a federal investigation, I corrected, into how your mother stole $40 million from club members through her exclusive investment scheme. Charlotte stopped dead, her designer shoes squeaking on the marble floor. What? Your wife is lying, Victoria said quickly. Andrew, tell your sister. The SEC has the proof, I cut in. Bank records, transfer documents, forged signatures. Would you like to see Mrs. Henderson's account statements? The ones showing how your mother emptied her retirement fund last month. Charlotte's perfect bridal makeup couldn't hide her growing horror. The Hendersons? Mom, they're like family. Which made them perfect targets, I finished, along with every other wealthy club member who trusted the Rothschild name. The caterers were moving closer now, their server uniforms hiding federal badges. In moments, Victoria's carefully constructed world would shatter completely. I can explain everything. Victoria's voice had a desperate edge. It's just a temporary cash flow issue. Ponzi schemes usually are, I agreed, until they collapse, like yours just did. Charlotte was staring at her mother, really seeing her perhaps for the first time. Mom, what did you do? Nothing that concerns you, darling. Victoria tried to smooth her already perfect hair. Your wedding will proceed exactly as planned. No, I said quietly, it won't. The federal agents were already moving forward, their badges appearing as they approached. Victoria's perfect world was about to end, right here in the club her family had founded. Sometimes karma comes with handcuffs. 1 year later, I sat in my office at the restructured Oakwood Country Club, reviewing the final restitution payments. The club had survived, barely, after selling most of its assets to repay Victoria's victims. The Hendersons got their house back, Andrew said from the doorway, bringing coffee. The SEC recovered enough from Mother's Cayman accounts to make them whole. Not everyone had been so lucky. Some of Victoria's earlier victims would never see their full investments returned. But at least justice had been served. Charlotte's doing well, I said, touching the wedding photo on my desk, not from her planned society wedding, but from the small ceremony she had 6 months later. The foundation she started is helping other Ponzi scheme victims. The Rothschild Victim Recovery Foundation, she'd named it, turning her family's shame into something positive, using her social connections to help rather than harm. Mother's sentencing is next week, Andrew sighed. 15 years minimum, the prosecutor says, plus restitution payments for the rest of her life. Victoria's perfect world had crumbled spectacularly. The society maven was now wearing prison badge instead of designer labels, her carefully curated image destroyed by her own greed. The club membership is actually up, I said, showing him the latest numbers. People appreciate the new transparency requirements and the mandatory financial audits. After the scandal, the club had rebuilt itself on a foundation of accountability rather than exclusivity. Victoria would have hated it, which made it even more satisfying. Senator Brighton's wife called. Andrew managed a small smile. She wants to host a fundraiser for Charlotte's foundation. Said preventing financial fraud is the new social cause. Ironic, considering how Victoria had once courted the senator's family for Charlotte's wedding. Now his wife was supporting efforts to prevent schemes like Victoria's. The SEC is using our case as a training example, I said, pulling up the presentation I'd helped develop. How social status can be used to perpetrate financial fraud. How exclusive clubs can become hunting grounds. Victoria's scheme had become a cautionary tale in financial circles. Her method of using social standing to target wealthy retirees was now a textbook example of affinity fraud. Sometimes I wonder, Andrew said quietly, how many other Victorias are out there? How many other exclusive clubs are being used to hide fraud? That's why we created the whistleblower program, I said, gesturing to the hotline poster on my wall. Anonymous reporting for suspicious investment schemes. Already caught 2 similar operations at other clubs. The Rothschild case had sparked a movement in the country club world. Members were more vigilant now, less willing to trust based solely on social standing. Charlotte visited Mother in prison, Andrew mentioned, said she still doesn't understand why she did it, why she stole from people who trusted her. Greed rarely makes sense, I replied, remembering Victoria's desperate face that day at the wedding, especially when it's wrapped in designer labels and social status. Through my office window, I could see Mrs. Henderson playing tennis, her retirement secure again thanks to the SEC's recovery efforts. She waved, no longer the broken woman who discovered her life savings gone. The new club board meets tomorrow, I said, gathering my files. We're voting on making financial transparency a permanent requirement for membership. Mother would hate that, Andrew smiled slightly. Almost as much as she hates prison jumpsuits. Perfect karma, I said, watching members enjoy their club, now secure in its reformed identity. Sometimes the best revenge is simply letting justice work. Victoria had tried to keep me out that day, believing her social status would protect her. Instead, she triggered her own downfall, brought down by the common accountant she looked down on. Sometimes the best accounting isn't about numbers at all. It's about balancing the books of justice.